Daniel here for Tabletop for One, and my first impressions after 6 plays of the Plum Island Horror. And I thank you for joining me tonight. Now, Plum Island Horror is the latest game from Hermann Luttmann and published by GMT Games, and I backed this game on their P500 system and received it late in December. And I can tell you right now, before I even get into my first impressions, I know I've said this multiple times on social media, but this is one of the best games I've ever played. This is such a great game. All right, now that I got that out of me, let's go straight into the review here. And so first, we're gonna talk about the production quality. Now, the production quality of the Plum Island Horror is a standard GMT affair. So you're gonna have a lot of counters, a lot of tokens that are chipped out of their premium cardboard. You have standard wooden cubes and their standard card stock that they use for most of their games. So if you know GMT games, it is not the highest quality, but it is good quality product. Now, I want to talk about my one major negative for this game. I don't have much of an issue with anything in this game except that one thing, and it has everything to do with one token. It's the civilian tokens. See, these civilian tokens on one side have this nice little picture of like multiple people or a little family with a little number, and the number is contrasted against the white background with, a red number. But on the other side of those tokens, it is a white blue with light lettering in a condensed lettering format. And so the problem with this is that sometimes during the game, you are going to get a card that references a civilian unit. It says, if this civilian unit is in play or has been evacuated, then this happens. And so you're going to have to look at the civilian units on the back of them and see what it says. Now, my eyesight isn't the greatest, but still the condensed lettering and the light blue and the white background doesn't really work well for me. And I really kind of wish they either did a letter code as they did with the different locations on the map, or a number code or something on each of those tokens. That would be easier to reference instead of referencing the name of the actual civilians that have been rescued or whatever. It is such a problem for me that I won't even look. The bonus you get from it is good, or like it damages a mutation or gives you extra supplies or something like that. I won't even look for the token at this point. I skip it over because I can't read that stuff very well. It is more of a chore to look for it. So anytime a card references it, I just take the hit and say, you know what, I'm not gonna get that bonus. I'm just not gonna even look. That is such a big problem for me. Now, it has nothing to do with the overall design of the game. It's a graphic design issue for me. And so, yeah, that is my one negative for the game. Now, let's get on to the gameplay here. And so the gameplay of the Plum Island Horror is a tower defense zombie survival game. So you are on Plum Island and you control a faction. In the solo mode, you actually control 2 factions. And so your faction units are out on the board, and then all of a sudden we have these zombie hordes coming down the lanes. There's 6 lanes to the game, and there's multiple locations between the spawning point and the end point. And so these zombies are going to be moving down these lanes, attacking civilians, attacking your units, wreaking all sorts of havoc. You'll have mutation zombies, these bigger like abomination type zombies that come in and deal all sorts of damage, even teleport across the map and do all sorts of things like that. So you got these major issues coming down, and so you're trying to rescue civilians and you're trying to survive 3 days. There's 9 rounds total, 3 rounds to each day. If you reach the end of the 9th round and rescued enough civilians, then you will have won the game. But there's multiple loss conditions, like losing an entire faction, or the zombies overrun too much, or the biohazard track gets too large. That means that the disease or the virus has grown out of control. And so, yeah, there's lots of different ways to lose. And this game is very fun, very thematic. You have a token pull initiation system. So you put tokens into a bag. 4 of the tokens are going to be your factions, whereas 3 tokens will be fate tokens, which summon and activate zombies, and then 1 token will be the doom token, which has you draw an event card, and event cards are all bad. So you draw 1 token at a time and resolve their effects. if you draw one of your faction tokens, then you're going to be able to activate your units on the map, moving them around and doing all sorts of actions. There's actions like moving and combat and rescue and healing and building a compound, all sorts of things. Even some of the faction units have unique abilities that they can do on their turn. And so you have all of these different choices to do. You have limited number of actions per activation, depending on the time of day and what day it is. But yeah, there's so much to do. There's different spots on the map that you can explore. You draw search cards, which give you extra supplies or extra civilians to rescue and stuff like that. You have NPC units that come out on the board that you're able to control with both factions, and some of them are really powerful, like the hero of the day. Oh man, there's so much going on with this game. And so that's gonna lead me right into the ease of solo play. Now, I need to let you know, this is a heavy game. This is a very rules intensive game. There are a lot of rules to this game. However, a lot of those rules are easy to remember. Once you get going in a game or two, maybe 3, you'll have most of the actions down, you'll have the zombie turns down, you'll have the combats down, all that stuff down to the point where you don't have to reference the manual. But if you do have to reference the manual, they provide reference cards all over the place. You have a quick reference guide. On some of the faction mats, you have reference charts for damage and the movement of the different zombie units. You have all sorts of information at your disposal. You have a player aid card that gives you all the different actions you can do on an activation. So you have all the information at your disposal. It's easy to access, easy to reference, and so it's not hard once you learn the game, but learning the game will take time, and the gameplay will take time. So just bear that in mind. Also, the units, the faction units, all have a unique ability. And I don't know if you're like me, but I constantly forget to use their abilities or use their bonuses and stuff like that. And so I kind of hamstring myself and make it harder on myself because I forget their bonuses. A lot of them are really good. So you do have to keep track of those, and those aren't easy to remember because there are like 5, 6 different factions in the game, and they all the characters have their own abilities and their own passives and stuff like that. So once again, it's a complicated game. I would rate this at a 4.0 on the Board Game Geek scale of complexity. So expect a game with a lot of rules and a lot to learn. But it's so worth it. It's so worth it. Every bit of, all the hours I spent in this game, learning this game, doing the videos for this game, so worth it because this game is so good. I'm sorry. We'll move on to replayability. And so with the replayability of this game, it's vast. All right, there's variable setup. I mean, the setup's going to be fairly similar every time you play, but there's variable setup depending on which areas are damaged, which bridges are damaged and stuff like that, and which zombie lanes are activated first. So you're going to find different setups there. The event cards is a huge stack of event cards, and you're likely only going to go through like a third of that for one game. So there's a lot of different events to see. The zombie activations are a deck of cards, and so they activate different lanes or even have what are called like surge activations or reanimation spawns or chaos. And so there's all sorts of different things, and how they come out is going to change the gameplay. It's going to change which lanes are going to get pummeled first. And so you can't approach every game the same way. Then you have all the faction mats, that all the different faction units that do different things, and then the search cards that bring out some of the NPC units, which provide different opportunities for you. So there's a lot to this game. There's so much to this game. Each game you play will not be the same. And so yeah, there's plenty of replayability, and you're gonna want to replay this game because it is that good. And so there we go. We go into the recommendation now. This game is one of the best games I've ever played. Now, if you know me, my number 1 game is Spirit Island. My number 2 game is Warfighter. My number 3 game is Bullet. Not anymore. Guess what? Plum Island Horror made it to the top 3 spots. Can you guess which one it is? I'm sorry, but Spirit Island is going to stay at number 1. Spirit Island is that good. I really believe it. So it took number 2, knocking Warfighter down a notch. That is something, because Warfighter is one of the best games I've ever played as well. But the Plum Island Horror deserves that spot. I have no problem predicting that this will be the best game I will ever have played this year, or the best game of 2024. I'm saying 2024 because it only started shipping out at the very end of 2023. Most everybody still hasn't received it yet, so they're going to be getting it in 2024. So I'm going to say it is the game of the year for 2024. I don't have a problem saying that because it is that good. There's so much fun. It's so thematic. It's so challenging, and it's just this fantastic solo experience. The amount of design effort put into this, I could see where they had actually had a heavier game and made it streamlined and made some really good decision making when it came to streamlining some of the actions and making it easier on you to manage. It made it so much easier to remember a lot of the actions. Man, they did such a great job. Now, I don't actually have a relationship with GMT or with Hermann Luttmann. In fact, the first time Hermann Luttmann and I had actually chatted on Facebook and Facebook Messenger was after I received this game, and I talked to him about this game, just telling him how much I loved it. And so, yeah, I'm telling you, there's no bias here. This game is one of the best games I've ever played. I highly recommend it. I know it's pricey. And so I get that it's cost prohibitive, but this game is so worth it at just under $100. Now, I do hear that there is an expansion. There's an expansion in the works. I don't know anything about it. I'm so curious about it. I'm going to back it right away. P500 is a great system. I'm going to back that right away. So definitely looking forward to that. But yeah, this game is so good. I can't wait for you to try it out. I've heard so many people already trying it out and enjoying it, and I'm so glad. I really hope you enjoy this game if you get it. I don't want to say you're missing out if you don't, okay? Because that's not fair to you. If you choose not to buy this game for whatever reason, whether it's the theme or the cost or whatever, that's great. Don't feel like you need to buy it just because I say this is one of the best games I've ever played. There are so many great games out there, so I don't want to put any pressure on you to buy this game. All right, I've said enough. I've said enough. It's a totally glowing report. Again, the only negative I find in this game is that graphic design decision on those civilian units. It's a problem for me. It disappoints me every time one of those cards come up. But other than that, I can't recommend this game enough. It is so good. And so there you have it. That was my first impressions after 6 plays. This is going to be 6 plays of 100 plays before I know it. And yeah, I plan on playing this game forever. But let me know in the comments below what you think of this game. Let me know what you think of my review. Please also like and subscribe to this channel if you like the content you see here. And I thank you very much for joining me on Tabletop for One. Have a great night.